Welcome back to the Gardener's Blueprint Garden Planning Challenge. We are up to day 8 of the 10-day challenge, which means we're getting pretty close to the end. So yesterday, you drew out your plan for next season's layout. And today, we are going to start our planting calendar. So how can you get the biggest harvest out of your growing season and not be overwhelmed all at the same time? By succession planting. So by sowing the same crop in intervals instead of all at once, you can extend your harvest longer into the season, and it also spreads out the harvest so you don't get overwhelmed with one huge harvest. So this staggering also lets you maximize your garden and get the most out of the entire season. So before we get to the actual planning, here are some tips to make succession plantings go smoothly. So first, you need a plan, which we'll be making today. If you don't make a plan, it likely won't happen and you'll end up just planting once. So second, choose different varieties. There are tons of crop varieties out there that have varying days to harvest lengths. So choose a few different ones to extend the harvest even more. And finally, since you'll be reusing the same areas multiple times as you harvest and plant different things, be sure to replenish the soil to help the successive crops grow better. So now for planning your successive plantings, you need to know 2 things for each crop. 1, your initial planting date, which will depend on your growing zone and the hardiness of the specific crop. And you'll also need to know your succession planting interval. These are usually anywhere from about 1 week to a month in length. In the workbook, I give you a chart for the intervals for the most popular crops, so be sure to check that out as you work through today's task. So as an example, let's look at lettuce, and I'll be doing the calculations based on my zone of 6B. So the succession interval for lettuce is 7 to 10 days, and that means I can plant new seeds once a week, and that should help keep me in lettuce as long as the temperatures stay cool enough. And I know my initial planting date is right around the middle of March. So I'll write that down, and then I'll mark that I can also plant again around March 21st and again around April 1st. Knowing that the lettuce I grow takes 50 to 60 days to reach harvest, and the fact that our spring gets pretty warm quickly, I'll probably stop planting at the beginning of May and then pick up again in the fall. Planting leaf varieties that are able to be cut and harvested multiple times also helps me extend the season. And then I'll just keep doing those calculations for every crop that I want to do successive plantings with. In the workbook, there's a chart to fill out with all of this information so you can keep it all in one place. But for the most part, you'll use succession planting for things like greens, brassicas, and cucurbits. But I do use it for tomatoes as well, especially for my determinate paste tomatoes. Succession planting for indeterminate tomatoes really isn't necessary because most of them will just keep on producing all season. But for determinate varieties like my aromas and my other paste tomatoes, you can use succession planting to vary your plant out dates so that you don't get one huge harvest all at once. And it's much easier to deal with my aroma harvest and preserve them when I don't get 100 plants ripening all on the same day. So for indeterminate tomatoes and other warm weather crops like peppers and eggplants that they'll just keep producing as long as the conditions are right, you can plant types with varied harvest lengths, so you can get some with early ripening fruits and some with later, even if you just plant them all at the same time. So that's your assignment for today, to plan out your succession planting calendar for all of the crops that you want to grow this year. If you plan on just planting one round of a specific crop, then just write down that initial planting date and you're done. So leave a comment below and tell me if you use succession planting in your garden. Is it something you struggle with, or does it come naturally? And then I will see you back here tomorrow for day 9. See you then.